Judith, yeah, for a moment. Judith, I see you coming in. Sriyanimala, Judy, Sanyu, Fene, welcome. Dilly, Christine. Oh, I think we have somebody new with Dilly. Ah, welcome, Dilly. Speak to you in a moment after everyone's in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're very welcome indeed. I'm just waiting for the others to come in.
I talked about her last week, remember? Billy's joining this week.
Oh, yes, you did. You did, Shirinamala. Yeah, you did. Thank you very much for introducing
She's
Dilly
also
to
Sri
us.
Lankan living in South Africa.
Hang on, just. So, yeah, welcome, Paladin. Yes, hello, Mariano. Just waiting for the others to come in. In case you're asking, no, I'm not in a new room. I've simply reorientated the furniture in my old room, known as rationalization. If I'd done that rationalization in my own heart and mind and soul more often, it would make a much bigger difference than the mere shifting furniture around. There we are.
You have to start somewhere, James.
You have to start somewhere, exactly. But actually, I got one of my sons to come and help me shift the furniture. I'm not sure whether I would trust any of my sons to help me shift the furniture in my own heart, but right. Dilly,
Yes,
would you
yes.
be so kind as to tell us a little bit about your background in Pali? And very, very welcome to join us here.
Yes. I grew up as a Buddhist in Sri Lanka.
Right.
Here in South Africa. So all the praying we did in Pali, and we knew, I think even Mangal Sutra, I know it by memorizing. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, so in fact, your friend Sriyanimala also is conspicuous in her by heart knowledge of a great deal of the material that we're using. So anyway, very welcome, Billy. I hope you find it beneficial.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, welcome, Orca, and welcome, Simon. Simon, you have the appearance of a man who's on the move somewhere.
I am, yes. British Rail, yeah.
Okay, right. We can even hear from the announcements where you okay, you're muted now. Right then. Oh, I see another new name. Goodness me, the flooding Givananda. If you'd like to come in and introduce yourself, you're very welcome, but no obligation, of course. Right, so what we're going to do now, we'll go to, I'll just share screen with you. The usual rigmarole. Oops. Oh, hang on. What about my team chat? There we are. Okay. Can you see is the iPad up? Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll now call up Mangala Sutta. And we just call it up. Mangala Sutta. And we are due to start verse 5. Which I shall recite then. Are you comfortably seated, Simon? Are you in a train now? Jolly good. So I shall recite it, kind of semi-prose style, but semi-chant. I'm so used to chanting this one. So Bahu Satchancha Sipancha Vinayocha Susikhito Subhasita Chayavacha Etam Mangalamuttamam. Bahu Satchancha Sipancha Vinayocha Susikhito. Incidentally, before I forget, those who are new, in particular Dilly, and I think the new name has gone. Anyway, Dilly, I'm just going to write my email address down for you on the shared screen. So just to make sure that you get onto the email list, so all of the materials get sent. Here we are. Oops. So, yeah, welcome, Shaulene. So just drop me an email, even without saying anything. Just here I am. Put me on the list, and if you send it to that address, I'll make sure that you're on the group mailing list. Now, this word Bahu Satchan, this is what's known as a Vridhi derivative. Quite soon, in fact, over the course of this Easter break, I am going to do a written a video lesson. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is so that I won't be having to explain Vridhi derivatives every time. And it's going to become part of your homework. Almost inclined to say that after it's up, and for maybe a couple of weeks after it's allowed to ask, please explain the Vridhi. Oh, no, of course you can ask. But if you do, straight back to the material that is being made available. It's Bahu Satchan. Let me just Bahu is same in Sanskrit and Pali, just is a word meaning much. And an alternative is bahula. They mean effectively the same thing. Many of you will know from chanting the expression bahulikata, bhavita, bahulikata, and so on. Bahulikata is made much or done much, therefore much practiced. Now, from the root shru, Vedic Sanskrit root shru, meaning to hear, we have the past participle regularly formed, just add ta to the root, shruta, which of course in Pali is sutta. So if you are bahushruta, you are much heard, one who has heard much, therefore learned. And this, of course, derives from the ancient ways of teaching, where you heard rather than read. It was hearing the teacher speak. So if you are bahushruta, you are much heard, you are learned. but learned from the point of view of having heard the teacher speak. Now, vriddhi derivatives, we can make an abstract noun out of this. So bahushruta equals learned. We can make the abstract noun learnedness, the state or quality of being learned. You all know how it's done. Vriddhi of the first syllable, bahu. Bahu becomes bahu. And the final a becomes ya. So bahushruta, adjective, one who has heard much. Bahushrutya, much heardness, therefore learnedness. In Pali, bahushruta becomes bahusutta by normal phonetic mutation, with the Sanskrit shra mutating now to a double S in Pali, because in compound and preceded by a vowel, sutta on its own, but bahusutta to reflect the fact that it's a consonant cluster in Sanskrit, shru, bahusutta. Now, bahushrutya becomes bahusatcha in Pali, rather annoyingly. And the reason it's annoying is this. I wanted it to be bahusutcha, bahushruta, bahusutcha, but it's not. And this is one of those, I mean, I'm undergoing at the moment, when I look at this, one of these moments in life when life does not go as I would like it to. I mean, it may be that one or two of you have experienced this in your lives, that occasionally it doesn't quite go as you want. And this is such an occasion for me. Why has it gone over to satcha? I cannot detect any reason for it. I mean, satcha on its own means a truth, as in the Satchani, the Arya Satchani. Why has it done that? Did Mara get into somebody's mind? Mariano, please come in.
Why don't we translate as much truth? Or why do we have to bend it the other way and much learned?
Because
does that one exist in the first place, with Satya?
I don't. I mean, there's, let me just call up the, so I'm losing it, here we are. Let me just call up the PTS dictionary here.
Or are they conflated even, so that, there is much learned of truths and...
Are they conflated?
Is that the effect on the speaker?
I mean, you could subliminally, or even now it's supra-limen now in your case, above the threshold. You could subliminally say that if you have heard much, you are in possession of much truth, which is, yeah, in fact, this is one of those occasions where my first reaction is saying, nah, but on this occasion, yeah, I mean, maybe that was in the background of their minds. I don't think so, because if you sutta, so if God, it's not even giving me that, is it? Bahu. Why is it not? Sorry, it's not. Yeah, it's not cooperating. Come on, the system isn't cooperating. So I'm just going to have to get out of it and get back in. It's misbehaving. Sorry about that. I'm going all over the place with this. Yeah, this is weird. It's not coming up. I seem to have a problem here with the system of the online PTS dictionary. So we'll okay, just have to live with that as well. Welcome, Usha. So in the commentaries and in the translations, it's all the bahus, because in Sanskrit we have bahushruta, one who has heard much, that we know. We also in Sanskrit have bahushrutya as the abstract noun, the quality or state of having heard, therefore learned much. And I think we can be pretty definite that the Pali bahusata as the adjective and bahusacha as the noun have those exact same meanings as in the Sanskrit. In the absence of the system cooperating, which is not at the moment, is it going to help me now? Aha! Here we are. It started cooperating. Oh, except that it's giving me a quarter screen. Come on, stop giving me a quarter screen. Here we are. Ah. Okay, under the head word bahu, much, we have then among the compounds bahusutta, meaning having great knowledge, very learned, well taught. Ah, bahusacha, now we're getting there a bit now. Here we are, bahusacha, from bahusacha, which latter corresponds to a Sanskrit shrautya from shru, having heard. This is the abstract to bahusutta. It's still slightly puzzling for me, but let's just accept that bahusacha means having heard much. But I think Mariano's point can be a good one in that some people may have interpreted that as being in possession of much truth. So it's quite possible that in the minds of the native hearers, it could have had that alternative meaning. Usha, please come in.
Until just now, I always thought when I chanted this that it does mean much truth. Much like truth in Dhamma. So
yes.
Much truth and handicraft or whatever, say pancha, because it's about speech and listening. And so when we listen to Dhamma, it's not saying you have to believe it, but I think to myself, it's something that must be true, but I have to investigate it. So I don't know. I sort of thought like Mariana did. So I
Do you
thought it
know-
was like Satya, not knowing much Pali.
Yeah,
Well,
because if one listen to a lot of crap, it is not going to do any good. But it is implied that it is, quality speech.
It's implied that you exercise due skill and judgment in what and whom you listen to. But that's the point that Usha has made there is very interesting, because that kind of confirms the point that many people would have looked at the Satya, that's Satya, truth, without knowing it. In fact, it's from the Bahushrutya or Bahushraucha in Sanskrit, which is what the commentaries will tell you. So I think it's probably correct to say there that from the strict academic point of view, it is the abstract from Bahushruta and Bahusutta, but that in the abstract noun form, Bahushrutya in Sanskrit, Bahusepcha in Pali, academically speaking, it's correct to trace it back to much heard, but in the minds of listeners, there was this either parallel or alternative meaning of being in possession of much truth. So thank you for that. I hadn't spotted that. So Sipancha, it's the Sipa is a much easier word. It's a skill, particularly a learnt skill, pottery, carpentry, sculpture. Sipa, Sanskrit Shilpa, and look at that, possibly from Proto-Indo-European kel or kelp. Often an S's come and go as these things. It could be then skelp, from which we have sculpere and sculpture, you see. So it's likely that this Sipa, Sanskrit Shilpa, and our English word sculpture via Latin are from that same root. So in Sanskrit and Pali, it has the broader meaning of any handicraft, any learnt skill, but this meaning then became specialized in Latin specifically to carving like stone or wood. So Bahu Sachancha Sepancha, Vinayocha Susikkito. Vinaya, we all know that word meaning the monastic discipline. It's from the root ni.
As an
meaning,
adjective, monastic means relating to monks, nuns, or others living under religious vows, or the buildings in which they live. Do you want to hear the remaining one?
AI.
I love technology. When you get a voiceover that I did not, and I've no idea how it started. I accidentally plugged myself into a system I didn't even know I had access to.
Wonderful.
Vinaya is from the root ni, meaning to lead. And the root ni is a verbal noun, naya, meaning leading. And a leader is nayaka. And we had the former, was it Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Bandaranayaka. See, Bandaranayaka is the monkey leader. Nayaka from the story of the Ramayana, where you had the Bandaranayaka, the leader of the monkeys, going to the island of Sri Lanka. Bandara, by the way, could be a corruption from Vana and Vanara, meaning a forest dweller. So Vanara, Bandara, the forest dweller, because the monkey is like the orang-utan, which of course in Malay means man of the forest. Back to Naya, meaning leading. Vi, we know, is the separative prefix away, that which leads you away, or leads, can either mean something that leads you away, or guides you away, or leads something or guides something away from you. it has the meaning of guiding you away from wrongdoing. There's the idea of kind of the restraint. You're guided away from wrongdoing or leading wrongdoing away from you. And then it, in a more general sense, it became, that was the word that was chosen to denote the monastic discipline. But here it's used in a much more general sense. There's a kind of discipline, guiding yourself away from anything that is wrong. So susikito is well learnt. We have sikha, meaning as an adjective, sorry, as a noun. Let me just call up iPad again. Oh, hang on. Here we are. This is the thing. It was that voice, the voiceover was just telling me about. How do I get rid of it now? I've got it on my screen. I've got the dictionary, monastic, adjective. Okay, got that. It's now stuck on my, oops. Ah, gone. Thank goodness for that. I know you were trying to help, but we didn't need you at that moment. Thank you. We have the sikha, the meaning learning. Anatipata veramani sikha padam samadhyami, training or learning. Oops. And a shiksha with a short a, shiksha is the a learner or a disciple. And of course we have the Sikhs, the Sikh, the Sikhs of in India, because they are the Guru Nanak ki Sikh. I'm sorry saying that in Hindi, not Punjab, don't know Punjabi, but they are the Sikhs, they are the disciples or learners of Guru Nanak. So the Sikhs of India is from that same root. And the past participle then sikhito is learnt. So susikhito, well learned. Oops. Oh. Sorry, I'm getting so I've accidentally cut off the connection. Should come back in a moment. Here we are. So Vinayocha susikhito, and a well-learned or a well-mastered discipline. There's some. I'm having a bad technology day. No. Interestingly enough, it is from the root shak, meaning to be able. And it is a desiderative form I won't bother with the details there, but shikshati is actually a desiderative form from shak, meaning to desire to be able. So when you are learning why? Because you desire to have an ability. So that is the meaning within this root shiksha, and shiksha. And if you are shiksha in Sanskrit, and that becomes sekha in Pali, it means you are to be taught. We have that word in Pali. Somebody remains sekha, in other words, requiring teaching, requiring to be taught. So So Vinayocha Susikhito. And note, as always, not as always, but as mostly, wherever you get a sh in Sanskrit, that becomes a k in Pali, and of course a double k if there's a vowel preceding it. So the transition from Sanskrit shiksha, learning, to Pali sikha, and shikshita, sikhita, these are regular transformations between Sanskrit and Pali. So Bahusachan cha Sippan cha Vinayo cha Susikhito Yavacha Subhasita cha Yavacha Etam Mangalumuttamam. Ya, simply the feminine form of your, that's the relative pronoun or adjective meaning which. So in English we would say the speech that is well spoken. Pali and Sanskrit just say which speech is well spoken. Yavacha subhashita. And in this sentence or part sentence phrase, just the verb equivalent verb of to be is omitted, as is very common indeed. So that speech which well spoken means that speech which is well spoken, or just well spoken speech. Subhasita chayavacha etam mangalamuttamang. Vacha, we know from the root vach, cognate with Latin vox, la voce, vocal and voice in English via French. The root bhas, to speak, past participle, sorry, the root bhash in Sanskrit, bhashita, spoken, bhasita in Pali, subhashita, subhasita, well spoken, means not just as in modern English, somebody can be described as being well spoken, but this, of course, spoken wisely in accordance with the Dhamma.
I suppose there is the negative as well, dubasita or something similar, or not really.
I'm not sure that I've seen it, but if I saw it, I would regard it as perfectly normal. Dubhashito, yes. Yeah, why not indeed? Let me just see whether and even if it's not in the dictionary, I think because of the way that su and du can combine, it would be perfectly legitimate to make that word, even if it's not not there. So let's see. Let's see if it is here. Yeah, durbhasha, speaking ill, injurious words. There we are. The answer is yes, you're right, Mariano. Even in dear old Minia Williams. And durbhashin, durbhashita, badly spoken or uttered. With vach, they're in Sanskrit and Pali, the equivalent is vacha. So answer, yes, well spotted, Mariano. So you can have subhasita and dubhasita yavacha. I wonder if it's not actually given as a separate word in the Pali dictionary, but it's not given there, but that's not to say it doesn't exist. And if you said, even though it may not be in the dictionaries, if you said dubhasito, everyone would say, yeah, that's a genuine Pali word, and of course it is kind of there within the substrate of Pali, even though it may not be attested in the dictionaries. Why I lost my, oh. Why have I lost my, oh, there we are. Put it back. Etam mangalam uttamam. So this is all grammatically reasonably simple. Don't think so much else to say. Don't think so. So bahu satyancha sepancha vinayocha susikkito subhasita chayavacha etam mangalam uttamam. So we can have a little bit of chanting of it, or recitation. But before that, are there any comments or queries? Right, here we go. Judith, you are first on my screen. So would you like to come in and give us a recitation?
I will try. Bahu satchancha stipancha vinayocha sushikito. Susikito. Subhasitacha yavacha etamangalam uttamam.
Okay, right. But there's one thing. You're pronouncing this cha rather long as a cha. Remember to make it very short. You can even make it as short as Srinamala would, a very short ch, which is the Sri Lankan way of doing it, the sing, sipan ch, sipan ch. But if you were from the Ganges Valley, it would be a little sound. But the most important thing is not whether you or it's don't make it long. So if you just say just read this pada again, just this one up to sipancha, bahusachancha, sipancha.
Sipancha.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
Vinayocha sushikito.
Susikito.
Susikito.
Okay, that's very good. Excellent. So thank you, Judith. Thank you. Judy, we're round to you. You on? Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Unmuted.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Bahu satchancha sipancha vinayo susikito subhasita ya vacha etang mangalang uttamang.
Okay, very good. But for one thing, that you concentrating so much on pronouncing the second vacha long that you fell into the English phonetic tendency to make the first one short.
Yes.
So never be shy. I mean, it's a little bit unnatural for native English speakers. Never be shy about. They're both long. Keep them long. Vacha.
Vacha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just if you can say again, subhasita chaya vacha.
Subhasita chaya vacha.
And that was excellent. Very good indeed. Okay, thank you, Judy. Christine, your turn.
Okay. Bahu satyan, kasipan, kavinayo, kasusikito, subhasita chayavacha, eta mangalamuttamam.
All right. Can you just say that first line again? But this time, make the cha, as it were, as if it's as if it's an integral part of the preceding word, as in bahu satchancha, sipancha, vinayocha, susikito.
Bahu satyancha, sipancha, vinayocha, susikito.
That came out nicely, yeah. Because in the native phonetics, the cha is treated as an enclitic, so fastened onto the end of the word, so pronounced as if it's part of it. And indeed, If you look at the way I've written it here, and the way you often see it written in texts, this is the anuswara, the final M. On its own would be bahusacham with the final M. And it would normally, because you get the final with the following consonant, be written as anuswara. But you will find that in Pali, the way it's written, both in Devanagari and by the in Sinhala script as well, and in Thai and Burmese, it will be treated. It's so closely connected with the preceding word that it will actually be treated as if it's an integral part of the word, which is why you'll have the corresponding nasal sipancha, actually written as a nya. Srinimala, I don't want to mislead anyone. Can you confirm what I've said or correct? That if you had something like sipancha in the Sinhala script, it would be written with the nya sound.
Yeah. Yes, it's no sound. Yes, it's no sound.
Okay, it's the nya sound, but would you write it with the nya letter in singing sipancha?
Yes.
As in, for example, nya, you write a double nya, nya. Would you write it with that same nya in sipancha?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Written like that way.
Okay, fine, good. And in Sinhala, would you ever find this written just with the anuswara, you know, the little dot above the letter?
No, we don't have it. I don't know. In my books, I haven't seen it, that answara.
Okay, right. So in other words, it's become so embedded in Sing. You will see it sometimes, for example, if you see Pali written in the Devanagari script, you'll see it written either way, either with the nya or with the anuswara. And I'm not quite sure what the Thais do. Anyway, I'm glad to hear from you that you write it with the nya sound in Sinhala. Please come in, Usha.
James, in Punjabi, it would be with a dot, you know, the sipancha. And there would be a circle kind of thing.
Okay, representing representing the anuswara.
Bahusachancha sipancha vinayo chasasi.
Okay, right. Do you ever, has anyone ever printed Pali in the Punjabi script? I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, Venerable Revatadama in Birmingham did it in Hindi. He gave me a copy of Abhidhamma in Hindi.
Yes,
Abhidhamma in Hindi, yes.
Okay,
which
right.
has some similar anuswaras.
Okay, right, yeah.
I read Punjabi more easily.
Right.
Devanagari script.
So the answer really is it's correct. Either is correct. Mostly when you get a word ending in the grammatical ending m followed by a consonant, mostly it's written as anuswara, but the very closely connected following word, the enclitics cha, ti, pi, words written as the full consonantal nya or m or ta. Okay, thank you for those contributions, Usha and Nimala. Right, who is next on our screen? Palden, you are next on the screen. Oh, here we are.
Wrong way around. Bahu Sachancha Sipancha Vinayo Cha Susikito Supasita Chaya Vacha Etam Mangalamuttamam.
Right. In the first pada, that came out right, but I'd like to hear slightly more emphasis on the doubling of these consonants. Bahu Sachancha Sipancha.
Bahu Sachancha Sipancha.
Okay, very good. Right, thank you. Thank you, Palden. Mariano, we're round to you.
Bahu Sachancha Sipancha Vinayocha Susikito Subhashitacha Yavacha Etamangalam Uttamam.
Right. Yeah, there was that interesting slight lapse back into Sanskrit, if you can call it a lapse, just, back into Sanskrit. Subhashita came out of the sh, which of course Pali completely lacks. So just say Subhasita Chayavacha.
Subhasita cha yavacha.
Wonderful.
It calls for the sh in a strange way.
Subhashita. I can, the sh wants to come out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Particularly for Vedic scholars, Sanskrit and Vedic scholars. Also, pronounce again Susik.
Susikkito.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, the O pronounced. It's probably varied a bit from place to place. I could hear a distinct Italian rather than Gangetic tone to that O.
Let me try again.
Susikkito, Susikkito.
Susikkito.
Yes. Okay. Now, pronounce that, if you would kindly, Usha, just that word Susikkito, as if it were a pure Punjabi word.
Susikkito.
You pronounce that with a short O. Okay. Punjabi, by the way, has a short E and a short O. Hindi lacks a short. Hindi is always long. Punjabi, you can make it short.
I used to write, before the chanting books were there, I used to write in chanting I learned in Punjabi.
You learned, sorry?
There were no chanting books when I first learned chanting, and I used to write them in Devanagari script in Punjabi.
Right, okay.
Metta Sutta and Mangas. Yeah.
But in fact, it would correctly come out with a long O, Susikkito.
Susikkito. Susikkito.
The second one was more, because as you're probably aware, Hindi does not have a short O. Sorry. Hindi does not have a short O. It only has the long O, the long A, long O. Sanskrit equally does not have a short A or only long. In Pali has both, but they're written the same, because Pali, the E and the O would be short, as we say, by position only. To put it in other words, A and O are always long in Pali, always, unless followed by a double consonant. So, for example, me, Susikkito, but and then bodhi, but it's short. Sorry.
So vinayocha. So is that short of the other?
No, because vinayocha, it's followed by a single consonant.
Okay.
Vinayocha. Look now at the word metta. Metta. Now, if you wanted to write metta in Sanskrit, it would be pronounced metta with a long e, metta. In Pali, it's pronounced short, metta, which would not be permitted in Sanskrit. And in fact, if you wrote metta in Devanagari and a Hindi speaker pronounced it, it would be pronounced metta, even though it's a double consonant following. In Pali, it's pronounced metta. And of course, the Punjabi speaker would have no difficulty in saying metta with a short e, because the short e is native to Punjabi anyway, but not to Hindi. So basic rule is, sorry about all this long, boring stuff, but basic rule is e, o, always long in Pali, unless compelled to be short, because followed by a doubled consonant or a consonant cluster.
Yes, thank you. I realize when I'm chanting, because it's linked to the next line, the breath makes it long, but I hadn't realized what you just said. So Susikkito, Subhasita,
now when you said it just at that moment, you pronounced it correctly and long. Yes. Actually, let's try it now. Let's take this as your turn now, Usha, just to chant this verse.
Bahu Satchancha Sipancha Vinayo Jasusiki Subhasita Jaya Vacha Etang Mangalam Tamang.
Okay, now that the pronunciation came out perfectly there with that long O at the end. What just jerked my mind was when you were saying it in prose style, it came out like a short Punjabi O.
Yes, that's
Okay,
interesting.
interesting.
Thank you.
As
I
you
hadn't
chanted
realized.
it, yeah.
Yes.
So as you chanted it, you were in the rhythm, and it was natural to make the long subhasito. So it's a susikito. Good. Who's next now? Charlene, please come in.
Bahu Satchancha Sipancha Vinayocha Susikitu Subhasitacha Yadvacha Etam Mangalam Uttamam.
Okay, nice. Can you just pronounce this last pada very fluent? Don't stop after this M. You said etam mangalam uttamam. Try and make it one flow. Etam mangalam uttamam.
Etam Mangalam Uttamam.
Okay, exactly right. Exactly right. Yep. Thank you, Charlene. Who we next? Sanyu. Around to you, Sanyu.
Bahu Septancha, Sipancha, Vinyocha, Susikito, Subrasita, Sitacha, Javacha, Etam Minglam Motaman.
Okay, right. Just this last bit. Subhasita Chayavacha.
Subrasita Chayavacha.
If you were chanting that among Burmese,
Yes.
Subhasita Chayavacha.
In fact, in Burmese, for cha, we pronounce sa. And we stop even, we insist on the cha, like sa.
Oh,
We
right.
stop after each sa.
Okay.
For me, I couldn't make it short because we have bahu sejan cha. No, in Burmese it's like that. Bahu tisensa. Tisensa tekpasa winiosa tutikito tubatita sa yawasa itamingla motama.
Oh, right. So all these ch comes out as a s in
Yes.
Burmese. Ah, right.
And then
Interesting.
we insist on the sa as if there is a comma. So I couldn't make it short because we are used to put stress on that.
Okay, right. I follow. So if you just say now, Subhasita Chayavacha.
Subrasita Chayavacha.
That came out beautifully. Okay. Thank you, Sanyu. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Judy, we're round to you.
I've done it.
Oh, you have. Sorry. What happened? Oh, I think people moved round on my screen. The screen got jiggled round. Nimala, it's your turn then. Unmute, Nimala.
Yes.
There we are. There we are.
Bahu Satchancha Sipancha Vinayocha Susikito Subhasita Chayavacha Etam Mangalamuttamam.
Okay, lovely. I have heard these Sinhala cadences. Note there, did you note that when Sri Nimala was pronouncing the final it comes out as a really short just say again, Bahu Satchancha Sipancha.
Bahu Satchancha Sipancha.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very short at the end. Okay, excellent. So this brings us then to the end of the Mangala Sutta, verse 5. We have time now to move on to the Dhammapada, 999. But before we go on, are there any further comments or queries from the Mangala Sutta? Yes, please, Sanyu.
Yes, I wonder for the word sikpans, is that another meaning of skill or craft? Because we use in Burmese, we still use the word. Sikpan means science.
Okay, that's interesting. So, as you know, the word science comes from Latin scire, meaning to know, so something known. And then by extension, it's science as we use the word in modern times. So it's interesting that modern Burmese use the word sippa in the same way that we use science in modern English. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So there we see an interesting extension of the meaning. So from the ancient Proto-Indo-European meaning, going back 4,000 years or something, we have the idea of the, how do we just describe it here, of a skill, the sippan, meaning cutting or carving, and then by extension, because in Latin it is specialized into sculpture, in Sanskrit and Pali, the meaning extends into any kind of handicraft, some kind of acquired skill, but specifically a skill with your hands, as in carpentry and sculpture. And it's interesting now from what you've said, Sanyu, that in modern Burmese, it's kind of further extended into science. So at school, for example, if you were studying physics, chemistry, biology, for example, you talk about you're studying SIPPA, is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Very interesting. You see, here we see this continuing development of the meanings.
The university and the schools and means that the sikpan, taikpan in Burmese represent the physics, chemistry, etc.
Ah, right. That's really interesting.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Sanyu. Right. It seems to me then that we are ready. So, if anybody who hasn't chanted yet on the blank screens, now's your chance if you want to. Otherwise, we'll move on to the Dhammapada.
You can ask Lily to chant. She can chant better than me.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that well, Shinamala.
You can ask Dilly to chant. She can chant better than me. She's very good in Pali. Dilly.
Dilly. Well, as you know, I never force anybody to do it. So
yeah.
if Dilly can hear me and is willing to do it,
I am.
Okay, please come in, Dilly.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we are. Let me give it to you. There you are.
I'll recite it. Bahu satchancha sippancha vinayocha susikkito subhasita cha ya vacha etang mangala muttamang.
Very much, Dilly. That came out beautifully. I'm very glad that Sri Animala persuaded you to show yourself. Okay. Thank you, Dilly.
Thank you, Dilly. That is really beautiful. Thank you.
That was great. Do it once more, Dilly. Come on, that was really lovely.
Okay. Bahu satchancha sippancha vinayocha susikkito subhasita cha ya vacha etang mangala muttamang.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, everyone else, all us other Westerners can learn well from the way that the more native speakers like Sri Namala, Usha do it. The daughters of the subcontinent, you see, who speak it naturally. The Punjab. The Punjab, does anyone know what, apart from Usha, Ushan, does anyone know what the Punjab actually means? It means the five waters, literally. It's from Pancha, meaning five, now because of the five great rivers flowing down from the western end of the Himalaya through that area known as the Punjab. In fact, the ab, in Persian terms, ab is from apa in Sanskrit becomes ab in Persian. And it came into Celtic as the word for a river, the Avon. So we have, for example, the Avon River. The word Avon in Celtic just means river, and it's from that same word apa, Persian ab, and the ab is in the Punjab. So the 5 Avons, it is the Punjab.
That's so funny, James, because I live in an area called Avondale.
The Avondale, the river valley.
We're in a valley. Could have been a river many years ago.
Yeah. Well, so there we are. So the river has gone, has it, Charlene?
Yeah, we're quite above high. We're quite a high above sea level now. They said, I think there was like a thing in a movie once previously that if there was a tidal wave and it covered Cape Town, it would actually separate us from Table Mountain. That's how high we are above water.
Okay, right, I follow. But there were Avondale, right? Well, that literally, as you probably know, means river valley. From the word, the Old English dale and the German Tal. I wonder if that's the same as the Sanskrit tala, meaning the flat. A tala is a flat bhutale on the surface of the earth. I wonder if it does. I'll check that. I'll let you know next time. Okay, we're ready to move on. We've got a few minutes left. So if we're all ready, we can go on to the Dhammapada. Right, so Dhammapada, chapter 9, verse 9. Just a reminder, Dilly, to send me that email, because I'm just thinking we've got a lot of material here that you may not have seen, but I can make sure that you have it all. You'll be on this, so I'll be able to send it to you immediately after this, and then I'll put you on the list, to receive any further group messages. Okay, welcome, Dilly. So, Panim hiche vano nasa haraya panina visam. Nabbanam visamanuveti nati papam akubbatu. And again, panim hiche vanonas haraya panina visam. Nabbanam visamanveti nati papam akubbatu. So the word pani means a hand, but beware. Tell you why beware, because you can get an oops, let's get me iPad back for you. Here we are. So we have a Sanskrit word and equally Pali. Both have this word pani, meaning a hand. A more common word is in Sanskrit is hasta, Pali hatta, and modern Hindi hat. How do you say Punjabi, Usha? Do you have the equivalent of the Hindi hat, meaning hand?
It's just a short hath.
Hat, okay, right. It's that same word. So there we are, Punjabi hat, Hindi hat, Sanskrit hasta, and Pali hatta.
But pani means water in Punjabi.
I'm sorry, say again?
Pani means water in Punjabi. So
okay, I'll explain that. I'll explain.
So I can't see the connection, but I'd like to hear what it is.
I'm going to explain the connection. Okay. I will explain the connection. Right. So, Sanskrit and Pali. We've got the word Sanskrit has come to English, prana. In yoga, prana, not just breath, but specifically like the prana in the sense of the life force, the breath of life. And one word for a living being is, in Sanskrit, is pranin. So a pranin means one who has prana, therefore a living being. In Pali, that is also panin, but just the pra becomes pa in Pali as usual. Nominative singular, pani, nominative singular Sanskrit, prani, yoga, yogin, yogi, prani, Pali, pani. So if you're looking at the nominative singular, pani with a short e means hand, prani with a long e, and pani means living being. Now, let us look at the instrumental forms by the hand or by a living being in Pali. By the hand or with the hand is panina, which is exactly what we see here. It's exactly what we see here. Panina, there we are in Devanagari. Panina in the Pali, as I've highlighted, with the hand. Hareya panina visam. One might take poison in the hand. In other words, you can safely do it if there's no wound on your hand. Panina. Now, if we take the instrumental of prani in Sanskrit, by a living being, is pranina. In Pali, it comes out as panina. So you see, in the instrumental form, it's distinguished in Sanskrit, panina by the hand, pranina by a living being. If you look at those two in Pali, it's ambiguous. Panina could mean by the hand or by a living being. There is an expression, I wish I could remember it fully in Pali. Is it part of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, where the Buddha has set in motion the wheel of the law that cannot appavattayam or apadivattayam, that cannot be turned back? Panina.
Apativatyang.
I'm sorry, say again, Usha?
I think you said it, apativatyang.
Apadivatyam cannot be turned back by any panina. Now, there could be a slight ambiguity there because they would both make sense. It cannot be turned back panina by a hand or panina by a living being. So there's that potential ambiguity. It's probably intended to mean by any living being, but you see that there's that linguistic ambiguity there in the Pali, which would not exist in the Sanskrit, because the Sanskrit will always have the r there. Let me just explain this pani, because Usha asked about it, and the word also exists in Pali. It's from the root, the pani meaning water. It's from the root pa, meaning to drink. And so in Sanskrit, same in Sanskrit and Pali, paniya means water. Specifically, paniya means that which can be drunk. So paniya in Sanskrit and Pali means water, but specifically drinking water, not just any water. And it's this paniya that has come into modern Punjabi and Hindi as pani, but it's from an entirely separate root, pa, meaning to drink. And it's that passive participial ending, the niya ending is karaniya, needing to be done, requiring to be done, as karaniyam atta kusalena. And puja is reverence, so pujaniya, worthy of reverence. So there are a lot of words that in Pali that have this niya ending. The pujaniya, karaniya, there are lots. There are many, and this paniya is exactly the same, drinkable, able to be drunk. Here we are. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, most welcome. This panimhi, note that in Pali we have different forms. That means in the hand. It can be ni or panimhi. Either both forms are good for the locative. So panina is the instrumental by the hand or with the hand. Panimhi is the locative in the hand. So nasa is na-asa. There may not be, if there is not. Che is if. So if nasa na-asa, there is no rana or rano wound, panimi in the hand. Hariya panina visam. One can take, one might take, visam, poison, panina, in the hand, or by the hand, with the hand. So this is the word vana, wound. So let me just explain this briefly, because the abbana, abbana means without, so not woundless, visamanveti. Let me just explain that. Okay, so vana, in Sanskrit, it is vrana. Vrana, meaning a wound. As usual, same in Pali, but with the dropping. Now, in Sanskrit, wound-free, unwounded, not having a wound is avrana. Avrana. Now, in Pali, that comes out as abbana. So that because we've got so at the beginning of a word, the Sanskrit vra just becomes a v in Pali, but with a preceding vowel, avrana, that becomes a double B in Pali, abbana. Far more commonly, we see r and a v. For example, the word sarva in Sanskrit, sarva meaning all, becomes sabba. So we have the RV and the VR, both become a double B in Pali. So to explain this, again, we'll say in different words, in Sanskrit, we've got the vra. In Pali, Pali does not allow this consonant cluster at the beginning of a word that just becomes v. But put a vowel in front of it, and Pali wants to get that doubling of the consonant avrana. It wants to have the avrana, but then converts that by Pali phonetics to abana. So that's how it comes that vana with a v means a wound, but abana is woundless, unwounded. And mostly, so we just run over 1 o'clock, but I'll just explain this very briefly and we'll resume here. Normally, Pali does not allow, it doesn't allow a long vowel before a double consonant. Nabbanam. You'd expect it to become nabbanam, but in poetry, you will sometimes see it lengthened. If this were being written in prose, it would probably be written as nabbanam. There's 2 words. In poetry, it's just merged into one nabbanam. But again, slightly unusual for Pali to have this long vowel followed by a double consonant. And exactly the same phenomenon we see in the previous line, nasa. We would expect to see nasa, not nasa. But here it is. In poetry, you can take these liberties. And just to confuse us all, the next one, naati, is not. This one here follows the general rule, nati, not nati, but nati. In Sanskrit, it would be nasti, nasti, but nati, it stays short here. So we'll resume at this point next time round. Just remember that in ordinary Pali prose, nasa, you would have expected to see nasa. Nabbanam, you'd have expected to see nabbanam or just nabbanam. And this nati, nati, becoming nati, is regular for Pali. So there we are. We'll stop at this point then. It's 1:05, and we'll resume here. Oh, it's going to be after Easter now, isn't it? So have a blessed Easter, all of you, and I look forward then to seeing you on the whatever date it was.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much then.
Thanks, James.
Bye then. Thanks.